Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. My name is Jason. I'm your host, and I've been doing this series called as the Dark Side of Entrepreneurship on my podcast for quite some time, almost I think more than a year now. The aim of my show is to educate entrepreneurs about business, share ideas, recommend strategies on how to deal with adversities while running a business. Not only that, I'm very selective when it comes to topics. So I try to come up with interesting topics along with my guests so that you can hear something fresh, new. I do this by interviewing high-level business executives, like the one who you see next to me on LinkedIn, Leslie Dowling, who are willing to share their personal and professional experience with my listeners. My podcast is also heard in over 23 countries, currently ranks on Spotify at the top 30% most followed business podcasts. My aim this year is to get that number down from 30 to 20% if possible. If you guys are listening to the pre-recorded version of this podcast, please do not hesitate to share as much as possible the links to any specific episodes or the whole podcast itself on social media. And I assure you, this won't be just another boring business talk show. We'll be injecting a healthy dose of humor, personality to the mix, and you will be learning a lot more about entrepreneurship. So sit back, relax, get ready to laugh and learn with us. Now, before we start the show, I want to make just one important announcement. So, the announcement is that if you are a podcaster who is listening to this podcast episode, and if you're interested in knowing about sponsorships, I have created something called as the Ultimate Podcast Sponsorship Kit. The episode is already available on season 3. So if you like to listen to that episode, you should be able to find it under season 3 bonus episodes. Now, this ultimate podcast sponsorship kit includes 20 professionally crafted sponsorship contract templates for all type of sponsorships, include pre, mid, post roll, affiliate, branded, creative, and not just that, you will also receive 10 podcast release forms like music, graphics, voiceover, etc. It's around $99. I spent almost an year trying to figure out like what are the different kind of sponsorship. The $99 is just to compensate some of the costs of the time and resources I spent just to gather details. If you're interested in supporting me and this passive income stream, which I have, do take advantage of this offer. You should be able to find it under the event notes or the show description as we move ahead. The second thing which I want to do is do a shout out to my, pre-roll sponsor, which is Elliot K. He's a well-known business coach, speaker, and author based in the UK. He has over 2 decades of experience in coaching and mentoring entrepreneurs and has helped numerous business owners and executives achieve their goals and grow their businesses. He was my first guest on season 4, and this is the message he has to provide you through the sponsorship.
Do you want speaking opportunities delivered to your inbox daily? Do you want to cut out all that time searching for speaking opportunities so you can simply apply and spread your message globally? If you've answered yes to any of those questions, join the Gig Getters Alert service today, where we'll email you speaking opportunities, virtual or live, from across the world so you can apply, you can be seen, you can get paid to speak today. Join the Gig Getters Alert service today so we can support you to not only be a great speaker, but to speak your greatness and spread your message globally. Join us today.
So that's Elliot K, and that was his message. So he has started Gig Getters Alert Service. It's an email subscription service, £9.99 per month or $97 for a lifetime. I myself have subscribed for this. They sent you notification of speaking engagements, paid, unpaid, virtual, or physical, across the world. I would highly recommend you to take advantage of this. You should be able to find this under the event notes or the show description. So let's actually move on with the show. And I know you guys are excited to hear what Leslie has to talk about. So today's topic is the intersection of optimal health and equestrianism in the workplace with Leslie. Thank you for joining us on this special episode. Leslie is an equestrian, a certified nutritionist, a board certified nutritionist, and a lifestyle practitioner. She shares how equestrianism can teach us communication skills, team building. She's also going to give us tips on building a strong team, creating a safe workplace, promoting diversity. Leslie will also explore how healthy living can boost productivity and well being. She will discuss self care, mindfulness, work life balance, sustainable living. Thank you so much for tuning in. Just in case, guys, if you're wondering who Leslie is, like I said, Leslie is a certified functional nutritionist and lifestyle practitioner. Not only that, she comes from a family who was centered around a business who were into wholesale and retail operations. She followed her family footsteps, attended university, and interesting enough, she earned her Bachelor's of Science degree in business management and marketing, and she minored in textile design. It's like a double major she did. She also transitioned into working from MASCO Corporation, representing Baldwin Brass Hardware Corporation at trade shows throughout the US. And after several years of raising three sons, Leslie decided to go back to school and receive her board certification as a functional nutritionist and lifestyle practitioner. Over the past 5 years, Leslie has been creating virtual health seminars, organizing public speaking events, lecturing for companies. And in her free time, she also has two podcasts, one which she does with her son, one by herself. She speaks about health, and she also has a horse. Her name is Sweets, and she calls her, like, she sometimes say that keep it sweet, something of that sort. And so it's very interesting, very, very funny. Welcome, Leslie. I want to welcome you. Let's have some drum roll. Let's have some drum roll. Welcome to the Brand Identity Design Business Podcast. How are you?
I am doing well, and I'm really excited to share all about my background with horses and how there are so many comparisons and bridging those comparisons to the workplace.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is going to be a fun conversation. If you are those lucky champs who are actually five of us who are listening to this conversation live, trust me, you will be blown away with the information you're going to get right now. It's not the typical health thing which you generally hear from a practitioner. This is going to be something very, very unique. So, my first question to you, and I know you are an avid equestrian and you have a special horse named Sweets. Sometimes you call her Keep It Sweets. I love the name. Could you share with us the story on how you first fell in love with equestrianism? Not a typical activity which people will get involved. Okay, what drew you into this, and how did you meet Sweets, your beloved horse?
Yeah, I love that question. So basically, and as you could hear the clip clopping actually of my one of three dogs next to me as we speak, I've always been an avid animal lover. Always loved being outside, playing, climbing trees, more so than just being inside reading a book or going to see a movie. And I've always been very active with sports and played high school, college. Tennis, but it was really the Mario Andretti in me, the just always trying to find something that would challenge me. And a friend of mine was looking for someone to work her horse while I was raising my three boys. And I said, sure, I'll work your horse. And I started riding my girlfriend's horse, and I just fell in love with it. You know, they say that you get that bug in you that just drove, you have that driving force, that love for some sort of animal. And it was the camaraderie and the unspoken language and that companionship that I fell in love with, this true connection. And I found after 2 years of leasing horses, I just had a heart to heart with my husband. I sat him down and I said, you know what? This is a sport that I want to start competing and eventing. And I found Sweets out on a whim with this very high end uh, business where a woman would buy and sell horses, but this horse came in at a very affordable price. And it was just a good friend of hers, and the timing was key. I got on that horse, and it was as if she was saying to me, "You know what? I'm going to keep you. sound, and I'm going to keep you safe on me. And she is a bomb-proof horse, and one thing led to another. In 12 years now, I'm still riding and eventing. So that's how I found my girl.
That is such a incredible and lovely story, and so many things which happen. I like the fact that you're an animal lover like myself, but I'm more into cats than horses or dogs, and this is super cool. I like the fact that you were able to figure out there's something which you were so attracted and interested in, especially horse riding. So, is equestrian like an official name for horse riding, or is it called because of some sort of activity which is involved when you do horse riding?
Yeah, so when people label, people that ride, avid riders, we usually are labeled as equestrians. And then it kind of trickles into if you are, people ask that are in this realm or world, what is your discipline? And there are several disciplines. People do dressage. Some people are avid jumpers and hunter jumpers, and I am an eventer. And eventing is like a triathlon. So I do dressage, where you see the horses in an arena in a stadium doing pretty piafs and wonderful, beautiful movements. Then I get on my safety vest and I am jumping jumps through the in the arena, and then I'm out in the fields, running, going through a course of jumps and ditches and streams and and just galloping through the fields. And they time you as to how fast it takes you to go through all of these movements and jumps. And that's what I was have been doing for the past 10 years.
Lovely, lovely. That is, you spoke about unspoken language which you were able to have with the horse which belonged to your girlfriend, and that's how this whole thing started off. So, my second question is, how can equestrianism teach us important communication skills and team building techniques that are applicable to a workplace, according to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it kind of takes me back to the day that I walked into the this whole realm of going onto this farm and walking into the stables, taking a deep breath, and knowing that this was something that was not going to be overnight. That I'd be able to gallop through the fields and spend all those hours of practice and learning that unspoken language of the movements of communications skills and that team building skill, which can then transfer into when starting a new job. You have to start somewhere, and you have to learn how to have that rapport and respect for your fellow team or pod or group of people that you're working with or for, and that respect, and that is something that you have to nurture, and it has to grow, and that is what makes somebody that is successful, that takes the time to get to know their group, the people that they work with in a company or a small business or corporation. And there's so many things that can layers. It kind of weaves in and out of the camaraderie of working with that horse and connecting and communicating, and that respect that you mutually have, to working in a company and getting that respect, and having that open communication skills with the people that you're working with.
Thank you so much for that, Leslie. I'm so sorry. I Somebody is actually playing loud music next to my house, so I had to go and shut down the door. Okay, so to be quite honest, I may have missed some of the things which you just said. Sorry.
Oh, and it was so good.
I apologize, but
Oh,
I have to be
Jason.
real.
No, 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 no. Yeah, I just gave a short and sweet synopsis on the non-communication, verbal, the team building, taking the time to get to know the people that you work for and with in a company. And that's sort of the way it is when you're working with one-on-one with a horse, because you don't know that horse until you start really building that trust and communication. And it just is so apropos when you're working in a company or for a corporation.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, although I did not hear the whole thing, but I'm just curious. I'm just wondering, is there any sort of scientific proof that you can actually learn from horses or equestrianism, which you can apply to your workplace? Do you think there is any scientific proof this really works, or is this just like woo woo, according to you? I'm just
Oh, I
asking, like,
love
what do
woo
you
woo
think?
too. I'm a woo-woo kind of gal. There's a lot of scientific information background that could support the fact of the communication skills, that nonverbal and verbal cues that is through body language, signals. There's a lot of study and research behind that. Just like when you walk into a board meeting, right? Or someone is there to give a presentation. It's like a Deepak Chopra. He has this dynamic energy, this wanting of people that to want to gravitate towards him. He just elevates people, and he has this presence, and that's something that you learn to build and you get when you start working with animals in general or with this 1,500-pound horse, and you rise above and you learn to have more self determination, respect for yourself too. And you also get to find that voice again that maybe was not there prior to feeling good about yourself and having that feeling of, you know what, this is a journey in life that we only have one shot at, and the energy you exude and bring to the table when you are in a corporate meeting, working with people, and working with your horse. So there's a lot of similarities.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much. My next question to you is if you could share some tips for creating a safe and inclusive work environment that promotes diversity and inclusion. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that because that is so prevalent and something that is just so spoken now in topic of conversation. And the first thing is really to encourage that open communication. And those skills are so critical in a workplace, uh, to have everybody know that they are important, that they are appreciated, and that they should be heard and have a presence within their work environment, just like the camaraderie that I have when I'm working with horses and I'm working one on one with my mare suites. So it's really creating that safe space where everyone feels comfortable expressing their opinions, right? And that safe space for your horse to be able to communicate with you when there's an issue with them, and being really in tune with that and in tune with people in the workplace and building that trust. Trust is so key and important, because that also trickles into the honesty, the respect, and really the consistency of that communication skill. So there's a lot of different avenues that is really, really, really important for diversity and promoting that.
Thank you. Thank you. So you say open communication and then you said build trust. I think it really helps. Is it possible that, because while you're working with horses, they can't necessarily speak like other animals? Is it possible that, you can interpret the message in an incorrect way? Maybe they were trying to communicate something else and you understood something else. Have you experienced that? I think there can be a situation even at work, right, with employees wherein they feel something and maybe the message was sent out in a wrong way. What do you think about that?
I think that's where we really tap into our intuitiveness, which you could bring to the table at the workplace. And it's something that you tap into and you get heightened with your intuitiveness when you're working with animals, with horses especially. And that is really watching and observing people's body language the way that I observe my horse's body language to really get to know their personality. There could be somebody that is starting to come into the workplace in the mornings, and you just know that they were defeated or had a bad night, or you could just feel that stress that they have. And that's something that you can interpret through body language, and maybe just keeping that open lines of communication where you can talk to them during the downtime, or just having an informal quick meeting, just checking in with your teammates and just asking them, how was your day? How's it going? Is there anything you could share? Do you need a little time off? Do you need a little downtime today? That is so critical to have a company really work optimally.
Yeah, I also agree with you there. Do you think it's possible that people can take advantage of this and screw their employees over?
Well, there's always the bad eggs in that group, and that's just life in general. But I think as you become wiser and more well versed with working with different companies, you could pick that out. And sometimes there's a reason why. There's always that validation behind why is that person doing that? Why are they taking advantage of the situation? It could be things that they're just so programmed to intuitively do that they need somebody to be able to like tap in, and they're basically reaching out saying, "I need help." So it's just it takes a special person and a special team to be able to communicate properly.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah, you would always have bad apples, bad eggs lying around everywhere. So yeah. So my next question to you is based drawing from your experience as an equestrian. Could you discuss the ways in which adopting healthy living habits, and proper nutrition can positively impact not only your physical health but also your mental and emotional well-being?
Yeah, wow. I could spend days and days. And actually, I just wanted to have a shout out to my friend and my fellow colleague, Susan Connor. She is here listening and supporting this conversation. She is also a fellow practitioner. And this is something that we're so well versed in. And it's really to be able to live optimally and healthy, you really need to have that mental and physical clarity, and that's not a quick fix. And that's something that I think, unfortunately, especially here in the US, I don't know how it is in the European countries and other places in the world, we always think that marketing campaign of losing that weight, or if we try a crash diet that everyone is jumping on the bandwagon, we're going to feel great. But it takes time, it's a commitment. It's like when you are starting your new job, you know that in a week, it's not that you're going to go from 0 to 100. It's the time that you put in to getting the proper sleep, getting simple things, strategies of drinking enough fluids, of slowly weaning out the processed foods, because the cleaner you eat, the healthier you're going to feel, the better you'll be able to get your circadian rhythms, your sleep patterns in check. And when your sleep patterns are in check, you could go to work feeling refreshed. Your brain won't feel fatigued. Lack of sleep has a lot of directions of creating that adrenal stress and fatigue on your system. So there's a lot of ways that you can create that optimal health, to which will then transfer into optimal performance in the workplace.
That is lovely. I appreciate you answering that, but I'm just curious. Like, do horses also have to do they also need? I'm guessing they also need to have proper nutrition and diet. What do you do for them?
Absolutely, especially in the summertime too, and that's something that we can do too, is the best form of replenishing electrolytes, say in the hot, hot summer, is through coconut water. But our horses can become dehydrated, and they can create that fatigue and not perform properly. They need the proper nutrients, the grains, and there are overall supplements to get them through naturally through the summertime. We feed them garlic so they're not, um, uh, the flies are not attracting the horses to the flies. So there's so many ways that we can work together, and through working with my horse, that they're more focused, getting their rest and downtime, and being properly fed 3 meals a day. The morning, noon, and evening, they get their hay and supplements, just like people. You need to eat to fire that furnace for this amazing vessel we call the human body to work properly.
Absolutely. And guys, if you're listening to this conversation, we have pets, we have animals whom we take care of at home. We provide them food, nutrition, we take them out for walks, I guess play with them. And think about it, how you actually spending even one third of that just for yourself, thinking, is my health is also important. So I think Leslie makes an awesome point that you need to look after your diet, you need to look after your, what you're ingesting, and see, what happens, what are the results, what is the outcome. So yeah. So my next question to you, Leslie, is about sustainable living. So how can your expertise in sustainable living and passion for equestrianism provide guidance for companies aiming to diminish the carbon footprint and encourage sustainability in workplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that's something that through natural horsemanship, where we provide that, we integrate that into our program. And that's from the natural materials you could use for horse bedding, like the wood shavings, straw instead of the synthetic materials. There's also those rubber mats. Um, and that can really, really greatly reduce the carbon footprint of a stable. Just like when you are in a company, try to ditch the plastic bottles and bring in your glass containers. Um, and this way we can kind of, you know, decrease those all the plastics and the toxins that we see that are being washed up on our oceans, and even in the sea they have just tons of plastic materials that are floating around. So there's a lot of different ways, not only at the stables and what we feed our horses, but also how you can help out and just help the sustainable environment at the workplace too.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And employees sometimes have to be very resourceful, because you need to understand that it may not cost you money, but it's costing the business owner money to have those resources. So be resourceful. That means if you don't have to use paper unnecessarily, don't use it. If you don't have to keep the lights on, just switch it off. Just basic things, which you can do. And I like the advice which Leslie suggested in terms of having glass bottles or metal containers wherein you can have water from, instead of using plastic. That can reduce a lot of environmental clutter, garbage, stuff like that. So great points, Leslie. My next question is that what advice do you have for individuals who want to incorporate more movement and physical activity into a daily routine, especially if your work is more sedentary? That means a job, which is helps you to be more seated, like the one which I do. Like, I'm a designer, I sit most of the time. So what would be your advice for us?
I love that. Well, first of all, when you take that break, years ago they would take a cigarette break. They would take that 5-minute break, go outside, run outside, smoke a cigarette, come back. um, Ditching that. Maybe I know a lot of companies, they have walking paths now where you could do a lap or two just to get out. Start doing some deep breathing exercises where you just take that deep breath in for 5 seconds, you hold it for 3 seconds, and then you just let it go. And that kind of releases and brings those endorphins into your body. And there's something called vagal nerve stimulation, which is the longest nerve that runs from the base of your neck to the your lower back. And that comes from brushing your teeth. You could hum, you could sing, say if you go outside and just take those deep breaths. And that creates those endorphins and just that feel good energy that we all need, or just doing movements and stretching your neck, and arm exercise, and just maybe standing up and jumping up and down for 5 seconds, just to get your body and the blood flow going. And instead of going to the vending machine and taking a Snickers bar or something that you know is just not the healthiest, because you get that quick spike with the sugars and then you crash, is maybe they have mixed nuts or Nutri-Grain bars, or bring an apple or an orange to work. And you could bring water with lemon or infuse it with fruits, especially now in the spring, and as we get into the hotter months. That's such a wonderful thing to do. Or coconut water. If you enjoy coconut water, it just restores and replenishes you, and your brain feels like it's unveiled, like you get this extra clarity, that sense of energy. Those are all great things that we could all do.
Those are some great tips and advice which you have provided us, Leslie. I'm just curious and I'm just wondering, I don't think it's like, you would be doing horse riding every now and then. I am guessing you would spend most of your time with your family and maybe some days with your horse practicing and, prepping up for the next activity or event. So when you're actually away, how does the horse stay in shape? Like, is he at the stable, or does somebody do activities or exercise with the horse, or is the horse at the stay? Like, what happens basically, if you get my question?
Yeah, love it. Just like we all have to stay in tune, right? And be physically and mentally in shape, so does the horse. You have to stimulate that horse. Most horses are turned out and they get a lot of time just bombing around the fields and getting that exercise. Usually, if you are eventing and competing, this is the time of year where we're not only are we doing cross training on ourselves, but we have to also do that with our horses to work together as a team. So we both have to be optimally in shape. So if I can't make it for a week and we're in the midst of training to go to an event, your horse has to be just fine tuned, physically fit, so you can get somebody that can work your horse. And it could be a barter usually. So it's a win-win. Somebody could get on your horse. That is, you got to find somebody that is well trained, in the sense that they have a really great stable seat, that they can ride the horse and do the walk, trot, canter. But it's a huge commitment. It's time commitment, but is also just like in the workplace. You have to micromanage. You have to learn how to balance your time. Maybe not bring all of that work home to your personal life and keep that behind closed doors in your office. You have to learn to strategize. And when your team at work is functionally in an optimal state of health and feeling well, and they're crisp and they're clear, what does that do? That also has a direct correlation with productivity and revenue. So when you're optimally in shape and you're feeling good, and the people around you, say in the workplaces, that's going to show a direct effect on sales and how you are performing in the workplace.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now I remember in the beginning when you were sharing your story about sweets, how you found her. When you looked at her, you got the feeling that I am gonna keep you safe, don't worry. So, something similar to that, do you have a personal story about a time when sweets taught you something important, some sort of an important life lesson, which you were able to apply in other areas of your life or work?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's really like twofold. I mean, she has just, first of all, she is just my. I joke around and As much as I love my husband, he's type A, and I say, if it wasn't for sweets, thank God, she is my therapy. Grooming a horse and really connecting and bonding. Even if you don't have a horse, connecting and bonding with Mother Nature, getting out there, walking, decompressing, you need that outlet. So she really found a place in my heart and in her heart where we just that unspoken language of finding your voice again and feeling empowered and loving yourself. Because, if you don't love yourself wherever you are, if that's in the workplace or with your personal life, if you don't take the time to self preserve, how are you going to have healthy relationships in your personal life and also relationships in the workplace? Doing Working together, team building skills. You have to have a happy sanctuary within yourself and have that spirituality, which is so key and important. And something that I don't really bring to the table is I'm a Reiki practitioner. And that is something that I have just intuitively always been very focused and in tune with people, even as a little girl. And that has grown and evolved. And it kind of makes sense how I've been attracted to animals and horses and being in the horse world. And when you have that, we could all tap into our intuitiveness. And when you start doing that, you gain a respect and appreciation not only for people, but what's around us and nature. And that's something that I think we have gotten away from in our world, and we need to reconnect.
Wow, you're learning so many things, from sweets. I'm shocked, and I'm also at awe at the same time. There's so many beautiful things. How do you balance both of these things? Because I think it's such an activity just to look after the horse, and then you are in a certified nutritionist and a lifestyle practitioner that also does involve you working with people. How are you balancing both of these things?
Well, that's the other thing. I think just when you are in a competitive sport or you're multitasking, you have to learn how to micromanage. You have to learn how to balance, try to create a balance because, in a perfect world, we're all humans. Who is really balanced, right? You always try to keep that scale from tipping to the point of no return. However, it's always that balance, that give and take. And it's just taking time for your work, taking time out to commit to something like, brushing your teeth or waking up in the morning or having that relationship and friendships, that sense of community, which is so important. And just trying to find a way that you can, on a daily basis, try to create that happiness within yourself and try to be there and be present for whatever you do.
I totally agree. Now, what do you envision is the future of equestrianism and workplace wellness? How do you think these things are evolving in the next decade or so, and what challenges do you see ahead?
I think that's a great question, because you see more and more of the younger generation. A lot of them are so busy in so many different sports and disciplines. Years ago, kids would be dropped off at a farm. They would, for pay, they would muck stalls. That's something that three of my sons have done because when they started mucking stalls and connecting with outdoors and horses, they've really built a sense of camaraderie and respect for these animals. But I see that there's a resurgence, and people are coming back to nature. Especially where we were globally on shutdown. People are really soul searching and taking the time to really say, what truly resonates with me. And kids are coming out of their being on their laptops and creating that balance because they're on their laptops all the time in school now. Books are not really the way that kids are not transporting books back and forth to school anymore. So I see parents really taking a step into creating more health and wellness with the Gen X, the Gen Ys and Zs with kids. So I really feel that people are definitely getting back to connecting with what is important in our world.
I appreciate you answering that. Thank you so much for sharing your perspective. I want to let people know that we would be open for Q&A. So all the 7 to 8 individuals who are listening to our conversation from the very beginning, the floor is open to you. If you're interested, please raise your hand and come up. Have a conversation with Leslie. If you're meeting Leslie for the first time, I think these kind of occasions does help you to connect with somebody new. I put a lot of efforts and time just to find interesting people, and you can actually get those connections when you come up on stage. So I'd highly encourage you to participate in the Q&A. Doesn't matter what kind of question you have, funny, interesting, unique, even dumb. It's okay. No questions are stupid. Just come up, ask those questions, and clarify your doubts. And while we are actually waiting for people to raise their hand and come up, I want to ask you that how can individuals build a stronger sense of resilience and mental fortitude? And I personally like this question a lot because I feel entrepreneurship is very draining. And I feel that you don't always have your happy moments, and sometimes you feel very low, and sometimes you don't tend to see any opportunity, any ray of light at all. So in such incidents, Leslie, how do you think we should tackle this? Or what should we do? Should we embrace it, accept it? What are your thoughts on that?
I love that. And it's something that this was part of our schooling through the functional realm. And they called it like the 5 Ps with really the perseverance, persistence, patience. There's a lot of avenues and roads that nothing is ever going to come out perfectly. And when you're building that sense of resilience and that mental fortitude and just that balance, there's give and take. Just like a horse might be on stall rest or have a muscle tear or do something that is out of the norm that you just never know, like us. And you have to give that time for people and for animals to have that respect, to give them some downtime, to build up that stamina again, to get back into a functioning, healthy self-preservation and perseverance. So it's all about team building. It's all about just being realistic with our goals with whatever we do in the workplace, or if you're into a special hobby or sport, and just staying in that green zone, being in the present moment, and working and communicating together, and creating a sense of love and great energy wherever you are in your world. So that's kind of the way I kind of look at things in perspective, and I bring that to the table when I'm working in a company too.
I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much for that, Leslie. And it's time for us to actually take a quick break, and I have a sponsor shout out which I like to do. And in the meantime, guys, if you're interested in coming up on stage, feel free. Otherwise, I just have a few other questions which I'm going to end up asking Leslie, and we will continue with this interview.
Do you want to find out how your neurology works? Do you want to understand why you do what you do? Then it's really simple. Just check out yourlifeliveit.com, and there you'll find lots of different ways for you to be able to learn more about you, why you do the things you do, and more importantly, how to change those in a really quick, effective way. We call it unthinkable change. The change that you'll experience with neural coding is fast and it lasts. Don't wait anymore. You get 86,400 seconds every day. Once it's gone, it's gone. We are committed and passionate about helping people create unthinkable change in their lives. We've been doing this since 2008 and literally changed over 41,000 problems, deleted them from the neurology, and then installed a solution that works best for the client. Whether you want to work one-on-one or take one of our award-winning neural coding online courses, take action today. The costs of not doing that are just more days wasted. So connect with us. We're here to help. We're here to help you create unthinkable change that's fast and it lasts. It's your life. Live it.
All right, so the ad which I just played right now, we in podcasting call this as a mid roll. So thank you, Dr. Amanda, for sponsoring the mid roll. So Dr. Amanda is actually an international speaker, and she has had around 1.9 million views on her TED Talk. She's also been on my show on season 3, and her episode is still ranking on the top 5. She has spoken in over 14 countries. She has been a keynote speaker for over 36 years and has impacted more than 3.5 million lives and is also the #1 best-selling author. If you do like to get recoded, as you heard in the ad copy which I just played, book your discovery call with Dr. Amanda at yourlifeliveit.com. You should be able to find this under the event notes or the show description. Sponsorship does help me to reduce down some of the expenditure to host the show. So, guys, I just want you to know that if you take advantage of any of these offers, I do make money out of it. It helps me to suffice and reduce some of the overall expenditure to record, to produce, create graphics, you know, have copyright-free music. All those things does cost money. We want to just reduce down some of those expenses. So just being real there. So let's move on with my interview questions. So Leslie, see a lot of things. You're the only person who I know who's into horses and who love horses so much. Okay, do you ever feel bored riding a horse? Do you ever feel lazy? Like, why did I get into this? Did you ever feel that way at any point of time?
Yeah, that's a good question. And honestly, once I got into the horse world, I never looked back, never regretted it. If anything, when I'm very busy or involved with personal life, with family things going on that takes me away from my horse, I feel that I need that fix, that beautiful energy that is exuded from horses. It's even just when you just take that drive out to where the farm is, where I'm boarding my horse, and you just see the rolling hills, and you hear all the farm animals and the noises and the birds. It's just so cathartic and therapeutic. It's really a beautiful thing. So if anything, it's just a great feel good, and I'm blessed and grateful that I can be able to afford this very expensive sport, because it really is. Your horses are like human beings, and when they're hurt, they need the dental work, they need the chiropractic work. So it's a huge, huge commitment. But before I forget, I just wanted to shout out to Linda Stevenson and Salia Ahmad, who is so beautiful and gracious to be here supporting this um, live today on LinkedIn. They are fellow practitioners that I'm just great women helping the world and the community. So I just wanted to give them a quick shout out. And I see Susan is here. Thanks, Susan, for jumping up here on stage.
Lovely. Now, just in case if your friends would like to join the conversation, please do not hesitate to raise your hand. I would be happy to bring you up. So, Susan, thank you so much for being here, and I appreciate you joining this live stage. Okay, I just want to let you know that we are recording this conversation. So, by you physically being here, I'm sorry, not physically, but virtually you being here, you're giving us consent to repurpose, reuse this content, and make money off it if you can.
Sure, that sounds good. Thank you, Jason
Do you have a
and
question? Would you
Leslie.
like to
Yeah,
contribute? Go ahead.
yeah, I do. Yes, I do. And I just want to say thank you. This has been amazing conversation. Leslie, you sound just, and Jason, your questions are spot on. So I really had to kind of rack my brain to try to think of a good question, but I think I have one. But of course, as Leslie said, we're colleagues along with Salima and Linda. And I our passion, of course, is working with people in the health field, functional nutrition, and I just the whole thing with the animals. I'm not a big horse person myself, as you know, but I love animals. I have a dog and a cat, and I just almost any animal. I fall in love with, and I love looking at horses and petting them. But how do you think like there's a strong connection to helping to reduce chronic diseases by being around those animals and around nature? Is there a direct correlation
Yeah,
with
that's
that?
that's excellent. As a matter of fact, where I used to board my horse, that was a therapeutic riding facility,
Mm,
working with kids on the spectrum, autism, and people that were are actually paraplegics, that they could actually hoist them up through a pulley system to follow them as they walk, and a horse is underneath them, and the power that they felt just being on top of this horse. And these horses are well trained to understand and sense when they have individuals that are compromised. And when you see, for example, somebody that's severely on the spectrum that's autistic, and all of a sudden they just go up to a horse and lean their head on their chest, and their hands are just touching them, the horse becomes this beautiful, energetic, like as if they're wrapping a blanket around this person that's standing there, and they are so still and stoic, and it's this energy that I can't even explain. That if you see this, it's so amazing and powerful.
wow, that's great. I love that. And I feel like that energy definitely helps to reduce many things, blood pressure, blood sugar, all of those things, right? So I think,
Yeah.
and yeah, I think that's a great thing. So I really appreciate all that you've said today. So thank you.
Lovely, lovely. Susan, if you do have a follow up question, do not hesitate to ask. Do you have a follow up question by any chance?
No, I don't think so. I think like I said, your questions were great, Jason. They were just spot on, and you really covered a lot, and I appreciate that. It was wonderful to listen to.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate that. I forgot to actually say thanks when you highlighted that in the beginning, but thank you very much for being a part of today's conversation. Now, I personally feel that, involving yourself with nature around us, the environment around us, does really help you with a lot of things. Like, what you said about animals, just involving yourself with Mother Nature, the earth, those kind of things does really help. Now imagine, if you go to out, like I live in a city, but whenever I go to the outskirts of the city, like we have more greenery, you know nature, the air changes, that makes a lot of difference, and you want to stay there as much as possible, but you can't. What do you guys feel about that?
Wow. What do we feel about what the fact that the connection with Mother Earth? I just know that when I just have a really long day, I need to get out. I just need to just hear the noise of animals, the birds, and disconnect from our devices, our electronic devices. So that is so key and critical to do. Just disconnect and get away from your iPhones and all that, just to be able to take that deep breath and just listen to what's outside, which is so important.
I appreciate you sharing that. We have Izzy who has joined the stage. Izzy, how are you? So nice to see you. Thank you so much for joining the
Hey,
stage.
thanks for having. Of
Absolutely.
course. I,
Absolutely. So throw in some. Do you have a question for Leslie, or would you like to contribute to this conversation?
so Leslie, you do so much, right? You're a business owner, a nutritionist. You mentioned also you do Reiki. How do you introduce yourself to people when you have so many titles?
You live a long enough life, there's a lot of titles. True. Um, that's interesting because I know and I was just having a conversation with somebody about this, because when I'm lecturing to corporate, sometimes I have to just kind of have a rapport with them before I kind of introduce the layers of the fact that I'm Reiki practitioner, because some people don't validate or understand what Reiki is, and sometimes that's so foreign to them that you need to validate yourself with stats and knowledge and education. But my passion and my heart is really driven to getting back to Mother Earth, and you could then build upon that to have productivity with whatever you do. And that's where I'm finding this beautiful interlacing of all that I've learned over the years. And I'm finally finding my secret sauce as to what I'm passionate about, and the people that are interested will gravitate towards what I'd love to share, after living 50 plus years on this planet. And the people that I don't resonate with will find their people somewhere else. So yeah, you get to that point of wisdom, and if you've walked the walk and raising three boys and just going through losing people that were very close to me in my life, and there's not that fear, you just go with what you want to do. And I think that's so important because we only have one life to live. So yeah, I guess in a nutshell, I kind of answered your question.
Somewhat. Like, but like, what's the title that you go to? Like, do you have an umbrella saying for like, what's your 30-second elevator pitch when you meet someone in a networking conference where you don't have the time
Yeah.
to share stats, share like stuff like that? Yeah.
So yeah. So obviously, my name's Leslie Dowling, and my business is East West Functional Training, where I speak to corporate. I work with nonprofit organizations. And also, I am very involved with podcasting and having guests from all over the world speak into sustainability and functional health and wellness, and to connect and collaborate with people all over the world. But the passion of my education and all that I bring to the table through functional health for people to live optimally is really important to me. So that's kind of my thing.
And if they don't ask questions after this, you're like, well, you're definitely not my people, as you said.
Oh,
Do you have a follow up question, Izzy? Anything else you like to ask?
I would be curious to know if there was ever resistance because this is like a subject that you don't necessarily always mix in business. And I know that there's like mindfulness is kind of very present in business conversations, but it's always on the surface. So I'd be curious to know if there was ever resistance whenever you were talking to potential clients or even giving a talk or something like that, and how did you handle it?
yeah, that's a good question. It's either like it seems like one extreme or the other. Like people that I kind of blend the equestrianism and corporate uh, values, they're like, wow, that is so cool. I never would think that you could take all that you have been doing with the riding world and bring that into a company. But once I give that presentation, they really are, they resonate with that, and they can relate on some form or another with just life in general, with the perspectives that I bring to the table. But I really, and the people that say I reach out to with my presentations, if they don't follow through, I don't hear from them, then it's just not hitting a note with them that resonates with them. So I never take anything personally. I just feel like the people, like your tribe of people, will rise above, and you'll find those people that you can really connect with.
I totally agree there. Izzy, do you have another question, or Susan, do you have another question? Any of you? All right, let's take that as no, and let's move on to. We're gonna have some fun. So whoever is on stage, please continue to be on stage. We're gonna do rapid fire questions. So I have a few questions for Leslie and one common question for everyone on stage. And I'm glad, Easy, you bought that question. What do you do? How do you explain it? Because I think the common question which I have for everyone will be revolving around that. So I have two impromptu questions. So the first question is, Leslie, for you. What do you call a horse that can fly?
Pegasus.
Ah, good one. Oh, nice. Nice. Okay. Okay.
Uh,
All right. Next question. Next question. What do you call a horse that can write jokes?
okay, is this for me?
Yeah.
um, could it be a jokester,
Oh,
maybe?
good one. Good one. That's really cool. Jokester. Okay. That's really nice. Okay. Now, I know when you send me your bio, you spoke about Jeremiah Johnson. Okay. Now, if Jeremiah Johnson from the movie were a modern day influencer, what kind of content do you think he would post on Instagram? And for people who actually don't know who Jeremiah Johnson is, would you mind giving us a little context on who he is?
Yeah. So it was a movie back in the 70s, and it was all about just the the dichotomy of the fact that what we have done with Mother Earth and with who really was here on the soil of where we live with the Indians and Native Americans. And when things were, people came here to colonize, um, and um, and he really was an influencer. But Jeremiah Johnson would probably be like, get off your iPads and get back to getting your feet dirty in the soil and ground with Mother Earth. So that would be something that I think that Jeremiah Johnson would be so passionate for all of us to do again.
That's super cool. Do you know the name of the movie by any chance? Was that Man in the Wilderness? Is that the one?
Um, I think it's called Jeremiah Johnson.
Oh,
I think that's the name of, yeah. So you have to Google it, yeah, to check it out.
okay. Okay. So name of the movie is Jeremiah Johnson. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So again, back to my question. So if Jeremiah Jackson wanted to actually, uh, you know, if he was a modern day influencer, what kind of content do you think he would post on Instagram?
He would say, make peace, and create peace, not war, and get back to getting outside and grounding with our planet, and eat what Mother Earth has provided for us to take it on another level, on an edge of me personally as a functional nutritionist. Eat whole foods, respect Mother Earth.
That is super cool. Now, if your horse Sweets could talk, what kind of advice do you think Sweets would give you?
She'd say, just feed me more good apples and carrots, and let me just graze, and the heck with all the eventing and competition. So she would say, just give me some TLC. That's it. That's all. No riding for today.
Give it a break, Leslie. No
Give me a
riding.
break.
All right, okay. One common question for everyone on stage. Okay, we're going to start with Susan. Okay, I know somebody else is trying to come on stage. Asra, I did try to bring you up, but LinkedIn is not allowing me to do it. Maybe you can leave the room, the space, like leave the conversation, rejoin back again. Maybe that would help. Let's try that out. Okay, and while you're trying to figure that out, so my common question for everyone on stage is that if you were a video game character based on your profession, what would be your superpower? So let's start with Susan. So, Susan, would you like me to phrase that question again?
Yes, please.
All right. So, if you were a video game character based on your profession, what do you do? What would be your superpower? So, if you ask me, I'm a designer, but if I were to be like a video game character based on my profession, I would be that person, that designer who throw spreadsheets at people, because my work involves a lot of strategy and spreadsheets. So that would be my superpower. So I'll toss around spreadsheets to people, kill them using spreadsheets. And let's say that if you are a lawyer, your superpower would be to object on things. If you were a plumber, maybe your superpower would be to summon a plunger at will. Something of that sort. Something funny. So go ahead. Would you like to give that a try?
Sure, I'll give it a try. Um, I guess I would be uh, like a fairy or a butterfly, maybe, that would just be sprinkling health and happiness, positive mindset, and the feeling of nature, eating good food, and just keep giving these things to people so that we could change the way this world is, and just keep giving it to them and giving it to them. And if they don't want it, then I don't know. What do you do when you're in a video game and people don't want what you're giving them?
That's a lovely answer. So you mean to say that you would like to sprinkle good health, being a
I would
fairy?
like to sprinkle good health, mental and physical, mind, body, spirit, all over everyone that even people that don't want it, so that maybe they'll experience that good health, and then they will be like, wow, this is what I need. So yeah.
All right. So for all the other people who are actually waiting, so let's go to Izzy. Izzy, if you have to answer this question, how would you answer it?
So I am a brand creator, and the problem that I'm fixing with all of my clients would be to differentiate them and, have the secret sauce so they are successful. So I would be spreading success on their business and lots of wealth, a lot of money.
Oh, oh, that's nice. That's nice. But what would be your superpower? Like, like how Susan had to sprinkle, health dust over people. So do you have something similar to that?
Yeah, it would be kind of a business makeover. I would just go to them, wave a wand, and then all of their problems would be solved and they would have success.
Business makeover wizard. All right.
Yes.
With a wand, with a magic wand. All right, all right, all right. Let's hear from Leslie. So, Leslie, what would be your superpower? You had enough time to think, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I did, didn't I? I would throw them a journal and say, start bringing that subconscious to your conscious level and start writing your inner thoughts or what you did during that day. And that's something that I used to always have a diary as a kid and would write things down, and it was very cathartic. And I never really thought about it that way. But I would throw them a journal and a yoga mat and be like, get out there, just lay down on your yoga mat and take some deep breaths and take time out for yourself. And that would
Lovely.
be it.
Yeah, this is interesting. So, you like to throw journals at people. You have to give your character a name.
Uh, oh my gosh. Jeremiah Journal. How's
Thrower.
that? Yeah, Jeremiah Johnson, Jeremiah Journal.
Okay, that's lovely. That's lovely. I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, so now tell me, I always ask this question to everyone, okay, who have been a guest on my show. So, what is that one thing you want to be remembered for? What kind of legacy you want to live?
Oh, probably just creating awareness to be your own advocate and a hero of your life's journey.
That is so incredible. Let me give you the opportunity to promote your business, Leslie. So, do you have any sort of events, speaking engagements, or promotions, anything you like to promote on my show today?
I appreciate that. Well, I do have a podcast. It's all about grounding with Mother Earth, and it's called, appropriately, Keep It Dirty. And so I have guests from all over the world speaking into sustainable, eco friendly lifestyles or businesses that they have. And their why behind why they are feeling optimally in a better place or changing their lifestyle. And also, my company is East West Functional Training. So I do corporate lectures for small businesses and nonprofit organizations, and really gauging and creating bio individual lectures depending on the needs of each of the companies. So yeah, thanks. Thank you, Jason. And thanks for taking the time. This was really great, and I really enjoyed sharing what I do. And thanks.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember you did mention about the speaking opportunity which you have at a company. Is that something which is publicly accessible, or is it just for you?
So, if anybody is interested, they could reach out to me, obviously, through LinkedIn. There is Linktree on there with all the different types of social media that I am active on. And also, my company is eastwestfunctionaltraining.com. That is my website, and people can reach out to me there.
All right, all right. I appreciate you sharing that. Thank you so much, Leslie, for being such an amazing guest on my show. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. Now, just in case, guys, if you would be wondering the whole theme, so this is a new concept which Leslie is trying out. To speak about health, but also by speaking about her hobby and her learnings from her hobby, that is being an equestrian. So, if you did enjoy the conversation, please DM Leslie directly and let her know that she's doing a phenomenal job. If you feel there are areas of improvement, okay, please also let her know that we are trying to create her signature speech. And I'm positive a couple of months down the line, you would hear something very, very interesting coming from Leslie's end. You never know, she can also end up being a TED speaker very soon. That's one of our goals which we are trying to work on. And I want to let you know about the next week's event, season 4, episode 7. That is going to be my 97th episode. So it's about becoming a 5-figure speaker with Carla Howard, live on LinkedIn Audio May 24th at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So my show is actually done every Wednesday at 12 Eastern Standard Time, 12 p.m. or noon Eastern Standard Time. So join us for that special podcast featuring renowned speaker Carla Howard, and she shares her journey, from a novice speaker to becoming a 5-figure speaker. Get valuable insights on developing a unique voice, building your speaking brand, handling challenges along the way. Learn tips on audience engagement, pricing, and negotiation. Do not miss this opportunity to learn from the industry's top speaking expert. The event details are being listed under the event notes, for on if you're on LinkedIn. If you can't find it, go under my profile. You should be able to find it. Last but not least, everybody who has joined the stage, especially Leslie, please give her a follow. Even Izzy and Susan, if you like what you have heard, support us, support me also. Please follow my show every Wednesday at 12 Eastern Standard Time. On that note, I wanted to say thank you to each and everybody for participating in this conversation and to making this podcast a huge success. Thank you, Leslie, once again for being here. Thank you, Izzy, and thank you, Susan, and all my listeners who actually I see down in the audience. Thank you. You guys are amazing. Take care of yourself.